Good afternoon all. So this is our course CH5172 Fuel Cells and Batteries. It's a newly introduced elective for PG level. It used to be there for other PG courses. In our department, we are introducing it for first time, and I am offering this course. So my name is Dr. K.S. Rajmohan. So other than that, for this particular course, we will be following some of the textbooks. All are available, soft copies are available in net. You can now download it officially. Okay. So we have a textbook will be Barber, we have Hugers, and we have Kodesh. So and we have Singal, and so these are some of the books available online. So you can purchase them with this ISBN number also. Okay. So I will be referring to all these books. So if you are following our lectures properly, that will be sufficient. And the material have been taken from different books for different topics. Okay. Because it's a very vast area and always new developments have been taking place. So this course will be basically 50% theory and 50% new research articles, what is being done in this current scenario for each case parts of a fuel cell. Okay. So that way the evaluation also will be 50% for theory, 50% for the research review article that we will be writing. Okay. So for institute mandated, minor exam will be conducted for 10 marks. There will be mid exam for 30 marks, and there will be some review article assignment for 10 marks or more than that. So based on how well we are doing, we will able to increase the weightage for that review paper or surprise. It will be like 3 people together will be formed into a team, and they will be writing a manuscript of some 25 page or kind of thing. So without plagiarism, we should able to write that. So with that, you will be getting 10 to 20 marks will be provided for that. Accordingly, NSEM mark will be adjusted. Okay. So 50 marks, that constitutes the method of evaluation for this course. Okay. So what is the need of this course? What is the motivation or what is happening in the globe? So all that we are aware already, bits and pieces. So I am just putting them together in a particular shape. Okay. So if you look at the conversion route for the fossil fuel, so you know what is fossil fuel, right? What is available naturally? It has been formed with a lot of time, and they emit a lot of pollutive CO2 also when we are burning it. Okay. So these fossil fuels are formed with several ages, which are dumped under the earth for a long time, over centuries or over so many years. Okay, so once the debris or plant human debris, when it is dumped under the earth, they undergo a lot of temperature changes and pressure changes. So they get converted into fossil fuels. Okay, like crude. Okay, so natural gas, all that coming under fossil fuels that we have in detail we will be learning in some other course. So they all come under, we can say, coal, some of the gas, natural gases, all that. Okay. So even our petrol, diesel, all coming under from the resource of fossil fuels. Okay. So if you look at that one, so how we are converting that energy? How, because the technology used determines how much pollution we are causing into the environment. Okay. So how we are converting our fossil fuels into electrical energy? There are different routes are there. So for example, they use a chemical reactor. There will be increase in the internal energy of a processing medium. So we make use of steam. They are used to run the turbine. Okay. So from that, mechanical energy is converted into electrical energy. Okay. So that is one route. And there is a gasifier system is there. Gasification can be done. Cold gasification is done. Okay. So there, instead of CO2 formation, complete combustion, we can have partial combustion, which is incomplete combustion, which is gasification, where CO is formed. So that way we form some gases which have useful energy, which can be utilized again. Okay. So that is one form of converting the energy. Apart from that, there is some usage of some fossil fuels, like can be even used to run the fuel cells to get electrical energy, like that we have. So if you look at what is happening across the globe, like particularly what is the total energy production, majorly it is being produced from coal gasification. So people from South India may be knowing Neyveli Lignite Corporation, where lignite is another form of coal. It is used to convert energy. Then we have hydro power plant. From water we take energy, and we have Kodamkulam nuclear power plant. Right. So like that, across the globe there are different sources from which the electrical energy is produced, or the conversion of this these fossil fuels into electrical energy is being carried out. Okay, so if you look at majorly, if you look at the coal, it is being produced from coal. 40.3% of energy is being electrical energy is produced from coal source, and around 20% is produced from gases like natural gas kind of thing. Okay, then hydropower plant contribution is 16% among the all the energy, the electrical energy that is being produced, and nuclear power plant is being increased 15%, and other oil 6.6%, and other alternative sources. So if you look at the other alternative energy sources, so that is also being increasing. The still, so what we want to do is we want to reduce the dependency on this, and we want to increase the dependency on this. Okay, so that is the objective we have, because we want to reduce our economy, which is based on crude oil economy, right? Our Indian economy is based on crude oil economy, and we are importing most of the crude oils, right? Which is being imported. We have been importing crude oil, and we are paying in terms of US dollars, right? So we have our own rupee, right? So we want to get rid of this crude oil based economy towards our independent, because whenever we pay in terms of US dollar, we are paying exchange price also, right? So that way we want to reduce our dependency on the imported crude oils. Then we want to move towards something which we can indigenously produce, that is hydrogen. So when we can make use of that, we can be hydrogen based economy we can move towards, okay, which we are going to discuss in detail. Okay, we want to move away from crude oil based economy to hydrogen based economy. In this view, if you look at what we are going to discuss now, so in this lecture we are going to have a learning objective of, we will understand the impact of climate change. Somebody unmuted, please mute. At the end of this chapter, we will be able to understand the impact of climate change, explain the need for alternative energy. We will be able to state the advantages of fuel cell. We may be taking next lecture, second half of these objectives, because we spent some time on interaction. So Galileo or Volt invention we will discuss. Okay, so this will be for first and second lecture. Okay. So to start with, just in call messages, you can comment. 19th century was the century of some of the engine, and in 20th century was the century of some other engine, and it is likely that 21st century will be the century of thing. So what is A, B, and C? You think you can write. Okay. So the choices are fuel cells, IC engines, steam engine. So fill ABC accordingly in the in-call messages. Okay, all of you who are attending and listening. If you know the order of invention, it is fine enough, I think, to answer this. Okay. Have you commented? I'm not hearing any message. Yeah, good. A is steam engines, B is IC engine, C is fuel cells. Okay, so that's what being projected. But still, the thing is, we are saying, because this was told, this statement was told with the view of the efficiency of the IC engines, efficiency of the steam engines, or what are the drawbacks associated with it. Okay, so when we move from one to another, it will have some drawbacks, right? Say for example, you are having something, I want to shift from you to next person who is better than you. So what you will try to do, we will try to improve our drawbacks, right, to stop me going from you to the next person. So we try to improve ourselves, right? So that only can delay the movement from here to here. For example, we have been telling that with centuries, we are moving from steam engines to IC engines, and IC engines to fuel cells, right? So now what we can do is, why this has not happened so far is, there is improvement in the reducing the drawbacks associated with the IC engines. For example, when we started, some efficiency was there, that efficiency has been addressed. The polluting emissions have been reduced. So when you work towards that, we are withholding people from moving from this to next, right? For example, these whatever bikes are there, we are talking about electrical bikes, electric vehicles also. We stop people moving from here to here by reducing the cost associated with it, operating cost associated with it. That means when you improve the efficiency, the operating cost reduces, right? So that way we are reducing the drawbacks, and which is holding the shift from IC engine to fuel cells so far. Okay. So answer is fuel cells may be occupying the total transport vehicles in future. IC engines have been on roads in 20th century. In the 19th century, we had steam engines occupying. Okay, so we know the basics thermodynamics we have studied in our UG course. I hope all are you from chemical engineering background. So we know that steam engines and turbines, they operate on Rankine cycle. We know the limitation of the Carnot efficiency. Okay, so we have a maximum Carnot efficiency of 63% is applicable for practical engines. And if you look at the steam engine, they were able to achieve the efficiency up to mid 40s, like 45% only, right? So that is the efficiency is what making people to shift from one to another. Okay, so what we are saying, whatever a steam engine, they had a efficiency of 45%, and this having an efficiency of 65%, we want to move to something which can have an efficiency of 80 to 90%. Okay, so that is the objective behind the shift. Okay, so for that, what is energy conversion efficiency? Energy conversion efficiency, it is a factor which is keep on increasing. As I told you here itself, people keep working on the present thing and they try to improve the drawbacks and try to increase the energy conversion efficiency. If you want to define what is energy conversion in efficiency, it is the energy output which is in form of electrical energy to the energy output in terms of chemical energy. Okay, so for example, in the 20th century, the efficiency of the central electricity generating stations are just about practical. Means in model, they may be having in small scale or pilot scale, they may be having more efficiency. But when we are doing actual power generating stations in the beginning of the 20th century, the efficiency was just 10%. Okay, so particularly the average for the fossil and nuclear power, once the nuclear power plant came, the efficiency was increasing to 33%. Okay, now we are having several type of power plants where we have a combined one. It's not just hydro, it's not just solar, it's not just heat. We have a combined cycle. So in that case, we are able to reach a efficiency of up to 60% energy efficiency. So what they are doing is, these are the newest combined cycle combustion turbines, which is a combination of gas turbine, which is used in the jet aircraft, similar to that, and steam turbine. Usually they burn natural gas, and currently they account for over half of the new electrical generating facility being installed worldwide. It's not just in India. In worldwide, this type of combined cycle combustion turbines is being used so that we have better efficiency. Okay, so rather than simply hydro, simply coal combustion, means thermal. Okay, rather than simple nuclear, when you have this combined, where the heat that is generated is also being utilized efficiently. So that means zero is going as waste. Okay, whatever is there, we try to, whatever is being generated in a power plant, all the energy is being utilized to get a electrical energy output. Okay, that's the combined cycle combustion turbines. So as I told you, the efficiency of the gasoline engines have been steadily increasing because of the developments that is being occurring. That means based on the research output that is provided by chemical engineers, mechanical engineers, or physics chemists. Okay. So mainly it has happened because of two factors. One is our ability to use higher compression ratios, which is controlled by our ability to burn the gasoline without any spontaneous explosion in the cylinder. Earlier, no, material of construction was a constraint. We are not having a proper material of construction for high temperature applications. Say, for example, the temperature is beyond 400, 500. We didn't have a non-corrosive or thermal resistant or mechanical resistant materials. proper material were not there. Now there is introduction of new materials. We are able to operate at better conditions. We are able to control the system with proper control. Process control strategies have been implemented. So we are able to control the unwanted incidents to happen, right? So that way we are increasing the safety, and thereby we are increasing the overall efficiency of the system. Okay. So there is a efficiency definition rather than what we talked about was energy efficiency. There is another efficiency called oil to well efficiency. Oil well to car wheel vehicle wheel efficiency. That means what is the efficiency with which the oil is being explored from the earth. Okay, from earth how we are taking out it till the running price in our car vehicle. So what is the efficiency? Okay, so that way wheel to well, oil well to wheel, what is the efficiency is being defined. So people say that even the overall efficiency of the gasoline, when I say gasoline, it's petrol, diesel, natural gas, all that. When we are using it to run our vehicle, the overall efficiency is only around 15%. Okay, so that is the thing with the transport vehicles. Okay, because we can define that the wheel to only transport vehicles, right? For transport vehicles, we are going to have around from wheel, oil well to transport vehicle, the overall efficiency is around only 15%. Okay, and remember now there is improvement with furnaces which are used, gas furnaces or home heating. So home means, as you say, I was asking now many people what is the temperature around there. Say in South India we don't even need a room heaters, but in North India, North India, East India, anywhere above this Madhya Pradesh, Andhra, we are going to face all the extreme temperatures. Summer also going to be extreme, winter also going to be extreme. So when you reach below 10 degrees Celsius or -5 also we reached some places. Okay. So all these places, people at evening time or after 4 o'clock onwards, we have to make use of room heaters. Okay. So that efficiency, when you use some gas furnaces are being used to maintain that room temperature higher, around 25 degree or 20 degrees Celsius. So what we need is, so we are making use of some of the gas furnaces which is being used. So now we are able to maintain 80 to 95% efficiency for them. Okay. So that is possible. And in case of the heat pump, which has a different efficiency definitions, okay, so coefficient of performance, which is defined as the heat energy delivered to the space being heated divided by the electrical energy purchased to run the compressor of the heat pump. So they are working at a very high percentage of efficiency. Okay. Now, if you look at different common heat engines that are available, so we have seen talking about vehicle, there are different type of heat engines are being used, right? So power generating system is there, many places there. So if you just look at the efficiencies, take a time, look into it. One of you can read it. Ritvika, can you read it for me? Yeah, unmute and speak.
Sir, the slide? This one?
So we are going to have a name of the heat engine and what is the efficiency. Give a pass for efficiency, then you tell the efficiency. Yeah.
Okay. Gasoline spark engine in a typical automobile has a efficiency of 15 to 20%. Diesel engine in typical highway service, it somewhat better than the gasoline engine. A
Good.
spark engine operated at optimum conditions. They have
Modest.
modest RPM and wide throttle opening, about 30 to 40%. Average steam electrical generating station, it has an efficiency of 30 to 33%. The range for of fossil fired steam electric generating stations, it's about 25 to 45%. Nuclear fired steam electric generating station, 29 to 33%. Combined cycle combustion turbine electric generating station, 50 to 60%. Combustion cycle combustion turbine with solid fuel gasifier, 35 to 45%. And combined heat and power cogeneration, 70 to 90%.
Thank you. Okay, so you can see the efficiency is ranging from 15%, but the moment we move towards this combined cycle kind of thing, the efficiency is crossing 50%, right? So 50 to 90% have been demonstrated or being used also in some places. Okay, but it is not that widespread application we could able to find. Okay, still because we have seen the percentage distribution, still coal is being the major player in the preparation of generation of electricity, right? So if you look at these efficiencies and how this efficiency, thermal efficiency also being defined, I hope in thermodynamics course we have studied how this thermal efficiency is defined. Okay, and we know what is this Carnot cycle, all that we have seen. And now there is a particular equipment is, you can see that internal combustion engines are incredibly inefficient at turning the fuel burned into usable energy. So they are called as measured in terms of thermal efficiency, and you can see some of the latest one by having an efficiency of around 50%. You can see the name here, the company name. So the turbocharged two-stroke diesel is the most, that name is RTA 96C turbocharged two-stroke diesel engine. It is one of the most efficient and powerful IC engine in the world with a thermal efficiency of 50%. Okay. So Toyota has now developed a new gasoline engine which it claims has a maximum thermal efficiency of 38%, which is greater than any other mass produced combustion engines. So with a different capacity of 1 liter, 1.3 liter, they are able to enable 10 to 15% greater economy than their existing equivalents. Okay. So why I am saying is this, first we showed a statement, 19th century was that of steam engines, 18th, 19th and 21st. So 20th was IC engine, but 21st was told to be, it is going, fuel cell is going to occupy. But what is the resistance provided in the transformation? I am just explaining, right? Because there is lot of improvement in IC engines, because when the moment it was start working at 10% efficiency, 1950s, when we talking about fuel cells, people said that it is going to replace that one. Okay, but after that, IC engine people have worked a lot of research is being done. Okay, that's mainly done by researchers, technical people, right? Engineers. So engineers have worked on improving the efficiency. Chemical engineer has worked on reducing the filter carbon, how to reduce the pollution, right? So all that have been done. Viscosity change, everything, anti-knocking properties, how to reduce. All that have been addressed to restrict the transformation from there to here. Okay. So like that, a lot of turbo hybrid products have been introduced with more than 50% efficiency. Okay. So mainly, they made something like this. It can even harness the heat energy in the exhaust downstream by a sophisticated waste heat recovery system. What we use here, heat exchangers, right? Whatever heat is there leaving out, we try to recover that heat also. That is where we are improving the overall efficiency to more than 50%. Okay. So in that way thing, if you look at the emissions that is taking place, and if you look at the comparison well to wheel, I was talking about well to wheel, right? What is well? Oil well price to wheel, what is the efficiency? If you consider overall efficiency, how it is being taking place. So you can see that gasoline, so advanced gasoline, which is having fuel production engine efficiency, fuel to wheel efficiency is given well to wheel. WW refers to well to wheel efficiency. Okay, and what type of emission it is causing and how much CO2 grams per it's being released. Okay, so if you look at this one, how much G per kilometer refers to when you are running for 1 kilometer, how much grams of CO2 is being released. So can you see the efficiency? Well to wheel efficiency. Fuel to wheel efficiency within the engine efficiency is more, around 36 you can see for this thing, right? So if you compare gasoline, fuel to means fuel which is being charged into the vehicle, and the efficiency is only 18%. Well to wheel efficiency is also almost 15%, which is going to release more CO2, 220 grams of CO2 per kilometer driving it releases. Okay, so the emissions, if you consider CO, UHC, carbons, hydrocarbons, NOx, all that, it's going to be low. Whereas if you consider hybrid, means gasoline plus methanol when you are adding, we are able to improve the efficiency. Okay, so you can see that one. When we want to use fuel cell using hydrocarbons or fuel cell using methanol, you can see the difference from 15% when you use a petrol vehicle. When you are using a fuel cell vehicle run with methanol, its well to wheel efficiency is almost 30% when you use hydrocarbon to run the fuel cell. Okay, so that means doubled. Well to wheel efficiency is double when we are shifting from petrol diesel to fuel cell which is run with hydrocarbon. Okay, and obviously the emissions of CO2 is decreasing from 220 grams per kilometer to 110 grams per kilometer driving. Okay, that way we see the efficiency getting doubled and the emission getting reduced. Okay, so that way they actually emission they classify as super, ultra, super or low, like that. So when it is so low, we have very low emissions of these NOx, hydrocarbons, carbon monoxide, etc. Okay, so the same is being represented here using the Toyota company's chart. Okay, so if we have fuel cell hydrogen vehicle and we have electric vehicle, we have gasoline vehicle, gasoline IC engines. You can see that gasolines have efficiency of around 19%. Okay, whereas we are able to get well to wheel percentage of 40% when you use some advanced fuel cell hydrogen vehicles. Okay, so actually the advantage of that fuel cell is going to be, instead of directly using hydrogen, whatever natural gas which is being available can be used as the fuel, which will produce hydrogen within the system, and then the hydrogen and oxygen will combine to form the fuel cell. Water splitting takes place, right? So water splitting also takes place. So we'll see that one here. So hydrogen, what is the reaction taking place? Hydrogen plus oxygen forms H2O. So water formation is fuel cell. When we say water splitting, it is electrolyzer. I hope from 8th standard onwards we have studied about electrolysis. Okay, so water splitting, water becoming hydrogen and oxygen is going to be your water splitting reaction, and reverse of that electrolysis is your fuel cell operation. We supply hydrogen and oxygen continuously to form water plus energy. Okay, we can stoichiometrically balance it later. So that's where, that is the reason why we are moving from that one. Okay, similarly, solar powered electric vehicles versus hydrogen run fuel cell, if you compare, they also have some advantages, own advantages and disadvantages. Okay, so both need some resource where we can able to charge the vehicle, right? Once we buy an electric vehicle and there is power cut for 10 days continuously, we are not going to able to charge it. You know what, some people arrange, purpose of introducing electric vehicle is to reduce pollution. So what we do is we generate electricity using running a diesel generator. So we run a diesel generator which emits a diesel into the atmosphere, and from that we produce electricity. That electricity is used to charge this electric car. Do we think are we doing a green driving? No. Okay, so the source of electricity generation, a vehicle, any vehicle can be called as a green vehicle provided the energy supplied to the vehicle is also from a green source. Okay, because as I told, electric vehicle, I bought electric vehicle and boast to my friends that, see, I am an environmental friendly person. My bike doesn't pollute, your Pulsar is going to pollute the vehicle, the atmosphere. But how do I charge my electric vehicle? If I am charging using a diesel generator, my vehicle is not a green vehicle. Okay, so we should produce our electricity also from our good source. That is where this fuel cell is coming into picture. Okay, because from solar energy is available during the daytime, which will be able to generate energy. That energy we should able to run in a fuel cell electrolyzer to split the water and store hydrogen and oxygen into the system. And when required, we will use this hydrogen and oxygen and produce water, and we get the electrical energy being used. Okay, so that way, combination of several alternative energies come into picture when we talk about green vehicles. Okay. There are solar powered electric vehicles and there are hydrogen run fuel vehicles. So in case you can see that AC to DC conversion is there, each one has its own percentage efficiency. Okay, that's what we are trying to see here. Some renewable source AC electricity of 100 kilowatt is being produced. Then there is AC to DC conversion is there. Then it works with a percentage efficiency. Whatever converter is there, it is going to work with certain efficiency of 95%. So what happens to the 100 when the efficiency 95? So this 100 becomes 95 kilowatt hour. Okay, so then we do electrolysis. As I said, water is being split into hydrogen and oxygen. So what happens is electrolysis works with the efficiency of 75%. So that means 95 kilowatt hour energy is getting reduced to 71 kilowatt hour. So then we have to compress the gas, then we have to transport, then we have to supply to fuel cell, which works with the efficiency of 50% efficiency. Then we have a running a fuel cell vehicle, which works with 90% efficiency. So out of 100 kilowatts, when you use the mode of compression, transporting and fuel cell vehicle, it only uses 23 kilowatt hour, right? Similarly, when you want to use some electricity, so AC grid is there, you AC via grid transmission. You know the transport of grid transmission from one place to another place, there is going to be transmission losses. So even if you say 10% efficiency, 10% loss is there, only 90% reaches this place. So out of 100, only 90 is reaching the location. Then again we have to do AC to DC conversion, and by which has an efficiency of 85%. So then when you use the electrical vehicle with the regenerative braking, we are going to discuss them in this course in detail. Okay, so electric vehicle with the regenerative braking, they may operate with a very high efficiency of 90%. So in that case, we are able to use 69 kilowatt hour. Okay, so when you use the regular standard hydrogen fuel cells, which works with 23. Okay. So which way, what by comparison, when you say hydrogen mode or electricity mode, we can see that hydrogen mode, electricity mode is giving better efficiency, right? So that way this electric is more efficient than hydrogen is what they claim. So what is our responsibility if we are learning as a chemical engineer? Can I improve the efficiency somewhere, 50%, 60% compression, right? So they are limited technically, right? So where I can work to improve the efficiency of the steps involved, I can compete these fuel cell vehicles with the electric vehicles. Okay, so that is the challenge in front of an engineer who is working, having interest to learn and work in this area of fuel cells. Okay, so there is a lot of loss taking place even in this case also. So we have to improve on it. So actually it was even being told, even in 1923, JBS Haldane foretold that the future fuel of the world will be liquefied hydrogen obtained by electrolysis of water, with the energy sources being the wind. That means if you are able to use wind energy, wind turbines, and generate electrical energy, right? So from wind tunnels, when you are able to produce electrical energy, and definitely it is going to be run with liquefied hydrogen. Liquid hydrogen will be the thing, will be the future loss told. It was foretold in 1923. As I told you, which is being halted with improvements in the IC engines. Okay, so since they improved IC engine, they are able to retain the customers. Okay, so they are able to increase the efficiency, reduce the pollution. So we are able to retain the same IC engines. Okay, so any source is available, currently available for to provide us electrical energy. We know the population is ever increasing, right? And there is ever so many gadgets are coming into picture. Whatever were manually being done or physically being done are being done with some electrical or electronic equipment gadgets, right? So to charge them, we need electrical energy. And with the increase in population, with increase in number of each person is nowadays having 2 to 3 mobile phones, right? So that way, with to charge all that, and at home also a lot of appliances have come, everything is being done. Even now what do you call, washing equipments have come in electric vehicles, means electric gadgets have come, right? So everything, even robo vacuum cleaners have come. So like that, a lot of equipments are being, a lot of instruments or a lot of things are coming into market, and one side population is increasing, another side the utilization of energy is also increasing. There is always a great demand for electrical energy, so which needs to be produced continuously. And if you look at what are the available sources for us, for example, natural gas and petroleum, crude oil, fossil fuels are available. Whatever is available means, as per right now, what we have identified, these are the resources available. Okay, so with that, if you look at this natural gas and petroleum, if we start consuming them at the same rate, it will be over at the end of 30 years. Within another 30 years, we will not have petroleum reserves at all. Means if somebody identify new petroleum reserve, then okay, whatever current reserve which is being identified, we can say that they will come for another 30 years only. And if you look at coal, this coal will serve for another 200 years for sure. Okay, that much coal is available in the earth. Okay, only thing is we are concerned about the environmental changes. Okay, then look at the nuclear fusion and breeder fission, which is a part of energy need. So it will also can serve for longer time. Only thing is uranium or other things what is required, thorium kind of thing, needs to be identified. Okay, and if you compare with this with hydrogen is available forever. Okay, so that is the reason we want to move towards the hydrogen based economy from crude based economy, because one side crude oil price is increasing, ever increasing. Even if it is decreasing, we are not going to have any reduction in the petrol prices, right? So they all will get over at some point of time in future. Okay, so if you look at the trend in which people moving towards from wood, coal, oil, natural gas and hydrogen, so we can see that there is an increasing trend in using the hydrogen as fuel. Okay, you can see that percentage hydrogen content in the fuels has increased. It seems a natural progression that the fuel of the future will be 100% hydrogen. That's what being predicted, and we also want it as a Indian government as a sustainable thing. We want to have that one. Why we should move towards this hydrogen fuel? So there are a lot of advantages associated with the hydrogen. It is lightest of all fuels. In the vehicle, you are going to have weight consumed by the vehicle weight versus the fuel weight is going to be very less. Hydrogen is lightest element. Also, if you consider mass wise, per gram of energy per gram of fuel, it is going to be twice that of gasoline. For example, it is 29,000 kilocalorie per kg, whereas if gasoline is going to be half of kilocalories per kg. Okay, that is half of this value. So combustion with oxygen gives water as the product, which is not harmless, and it can even directly burn with oxygen in a turbine. It can be oxidized with oxygen in a fuel cell. It can desulfurize coal and petroleum to provide cleaner power energy carrier. It can be easily pumped in pipelines, stored as gas. In all forms, we can store hydrogen. In hydrogen gas, compressed gas we can keep, or you can liquefy it and store, or we can absorb it into the gaps, pores available in solid hydrides. Okay, so storage is going to be easier in comparison to other things. Okay, safely we can store them. Okay, also it can be transported using rail cars, or using double walled dewar tanks. Offload time power in conventional electric power station can be used for generating hydrogen, which can be used for the future usage. Okay, so there are different methods of hydrogen production. Mainly that electrolysis of water I was telling. Then we can do steam reforming. Water molecules can be separated using time up. Hello.
Yes. Yes, sir. Time
Yes,
is
sir.
on
Yes,
30
sir.
seconds.
Yeah, then we will stop here.
Yes,
So
sir.
just want to show you the reaction that is taking place. Water electrolysis, we know water can be split to form hydrogen, oxygen and hydrogen. When, as I told, in wind energy and electrical energy, we get it from the natural sources, alternative energy sources. We get some electrical energy. Okay, means either it can be through wind energy or solar energy. We get electricity. That electricity is used used in an electrolyzer to convert water into oxygen and hydrogen. So we will be storing oxygen and hydrogen safely, and when there is a demand for supplying the electrical energy at night times, we will use this oxygen and hydrogen together to form the water, along with which there will be energy formation. Okay, so like that we have different methods of producing hydrogen, which is listed here. Anyhow, hydrogen is a separate chapter also we are going to discuss. As I told you, this hydrogen can be stored in gas form, liquid form, and solid form also. With invention of nanomaterials, we are able to store better also. Okay, and in the next lecture we will see about this thing in future. Okay, so thank you so much for joining my classroom. We'll continue in the next lecture. Are there any queries? You can stay back, others can leave. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.